Hey everyone, Shawn Clement here for Golf WRX at our headquarters at the Richmond Hill Golf Learning Center for Wisdom in Golf. And we're going to have a nice four-part series right here on the driver, because I tell you, you look at Dustin Johnson and what he just did over the weekend, and you realize that everything is set up by the driver. So the first thing we're going to look at is some very basic sensations that you need to have with the driver. You notice Dustin Johnson's got a very upright backswing. Same for Bubba Watson. So a lot of these top drivers out there are not necessarily the flat swingers. So what we want is like a ball on a string. So if I take a ball on a string and I give that to gravity, so notice how right now the ball is stretching out the string and is creating an arc. So what I want to do is take this arc and I want to take it. See that tee right there? I'm going to bring this over to the tee and then lower myself low enough I can clip it. So if I want to catch the driver, I want to hit it higher, I'm going to tee it up higher and find the bottom of the arc, there it is, and then bring this over and feel like I'm going to catch it on the way up. If I wanted to hit the ball lower, mid-size, mid-trajectory, there's where I would put the ball position. Okay, now I am swinging with my right hand, so the arc is a little bit offset in relation to my body, but you notice where the bottom of the arc is. So if I did the same thing with the driver, there's my ball, there's my string, the attachment is here at the shoulder sockets. So I need to really allow the G-forces of my swing to take control. The more you try to control this length of club, the worse things are going to be for you, okay? So you got to let the dog off the leash, or get the dog to the absolute end of the leash and make that dog do some nice circles around that leash post, okay? So if I'm going to catch it on the way up, all I want to do now is just do a couple of random practice swings and feel where that bottom is. Can you see that? It's right about there. So now if I bring that in, if I'm over here, it feels like I'm going to need a tee about this high to catch it on the way up. And at that point, the club is starting to come back inside on my arc, so I'm going to tend to pull it too far left. Here it feels like I can catch it on the way up in that proper position. So from there, see that? That feels like I can take one downwind and hit it nice and high. So for those of you who are doing really well with hybrids and fairway woods, you probably enjoy teeing the ball lower with the driver, which is totally good. When I'm demonstrating fairway woods, I say, okay, you've got the sole of your club, which is like a skipping stone, and if the sole of the club deflects nicely along the surface of the ground, listen for the sound. Hear that? This beautiful deflection. So if I do that beautiful deflection from here, I'll drop kick it into the ball and top it on the way up. If I do it from here, I'm going to catch it on the way down. From here, it feels like I'm going to catch the ball exactly at the right time. So it feels like the low point of my swing is slightly in front of the ball, but my attention is on the sole of the club deflecting. Hear that? Stung right there in the center of that club face. And that ball had, a decent angle, a nice launch angle on it. So now, if I tee it nice and low, I'm going to tee it in a way where if I just let the sole of the club graze grass, there. If I let the sole of the club graze grass, the ball will hit just slightly above the equator and give me a real nice launch with nice low spin. And because the sole of the club is following the ground, it's like you got your own built-in training aid called the ground. So now all I want to do is focus on the sole of the club staying along the ground. If I do it from here, I'm going to catch it too far on the way up. If I do it from here, I'm catching it on the way down. There, I feel where the bottom of my arc is. So I'm going to let gravity track the arc along the ground towards something specific. I'm going to that intermediate point. So if I go here, it feels like I'm going way left of that intermediate point. If I go here, I'm going to block it way right of that intermediate point. Here, it feels like I'm hugging the ground, catching the ball in the right place, and right over that intermediate point. So here we go. Perfect. So that launched a good 12 degrees. I know because of my signs here, I know exactly how high these are going. So, however, if you were downwind and you wanted to take advantage of a nice high ball, there's no way you could do it from that tee position. So I'm going to tee it higher. I'm going to set up further back here. What's the problem? All you need to know is, are you going to catch the ball on the way up? And is it going to start in the direction that you want the ball to start on? Period. That's all. There's nothing more complicated than that. So my eyes are on the tee. And if the sole of the club, see the bottom groove of my club? If I clip the tip of the tee with the bottom groove of my club, the ball's going to hit the center of the face all day. Okay? So I've got my ball on a string. That's my machine. And I'm using the ball and a string machine to clip the tip of the tee on the way up and towards something specific. You must have a specific direction for that. So if I'm over here, it feels like I'm going way too far left. Over here, I'm going too far right. Over here, it feels like I'm going to catch it on the way up above my green sign to the right edge of that intermediate point. Got it. This fits. Still fits. Still fits. Look at that. So the launch on that, we just went up another 5 degrees in launch angle at least. So I can go from a 20-degree launch angle downwind to an 8-degree launch angle into a 4-club wind on a wonderful Scottish afternoon. So you'll find some of you are more comfortable with a higher tee. If I wanted to hit it lower on the higher tee, I'd just hover my club. Jack Nicklaus, Greg Norman, some of the best drivers of the game hovered their golf clubs. So when you're hovering the club, a huge benefit to that is that it feels like you're already tracking the arc. You're already dynamically ready to go. For some of you, it's a very scary proposition because you're saying, oh my gosh, I feel like I got less control. That's why I would recommend that you go down in your height and then focus on the sole of your club grazing the turf in the direction you want the ball to start. And you're going to get fabulous, fabulous success with the driver that way. Hope you enjoyed that. And we'll see you next week for our next episode of Driver Skills. All the best.